I've noticed a lack of tutorials for men's makeup application for the Addams Family as far as Ancestors go, so I figured I would give it a quick shot. What I've purchased here is Mehron, M-E-H-R-O-N makeup. It's a cream blend stick. I got it on Amazon for about $11 in white. So I'm going to start with just dabbing. My face is already clean, and I'm just going to highlight a couple of areas. So depending on your costume, you'll want to go all the way down to the neck or even the chest. For some costumes, don't forget to cover the ears. My particular costume is a high collared Victorian neck, so I don't have to cover too far down, just here roughly around the center. You can use a sponge applicator. I suggest dabbing, not so much dragging. I'm going to use this little brush here, and I'm also going to dab and kind of stipple. So it's the same idea as the sponge might give you. It's going to be the same application. Because of the bristles on it, I guess with this particular brush I can afford to kind of notice how a lot of it goes a long way. I can afford to lightly pull out a lot of that color. So I just want to blend this color around my face. Our particular palette was a white palette. Depending on your production, you might use a gray or a combination of both white and gray. Don't forget to cover the ears, the front and the backs. Go all the way up into the hairline. You may be spraying your hair, depending on what your costume is and what your budget is like. I have a wig that I wear, so I don't really have to worry about my hair. But there are some options out there as far as sprays are concerned. There's also these really neat guys here. Can't see that. It's almost like a little mascara wand, and I'll be using that for my eyebrows. But you can even use this same cream paint here. And now I recommend this cream paint instead of the ones you might find at your local costume store that come in the small little tubes that you would purchase around Halloween. I just don't find them to be helpful at all. They don't really blend properly. They actually blend out of your skin if you're a little too rough with your application. I'm just going to pin my hair back really quickly. So that's the basic look. Got a couple of spots here and I'll touch up. And I'm actually just going to take some baby powder and set that. And I've got an assortment of brushes. Seem to have misplaced my powder container, because I've already gone through and I've put some extra powder. I'm just going to use this large, I guess I want to say it's a large powder brush or blush brush. It might be marketed that way. And I'm going to be pretty generous. And I'm not, because the makeup is still a little wet, I don't want to smear it off, so I am going to press the powder pretty generously across my face, working different areas, working small areas. It's important that you set this makeup because you will sweat, and just like you would with a regular base and a regular foundation, and you might go over top of it with a powder to set it. It's really going to help lock it into place, and it's not going to smear. All right. Now that I'm pretty coated, I'm going to go through and lightly buff it out. I just want to get rid of any of the excess powder on my face. And ideally, you'd be wearing, either getting ready for your in costume, or I probably wouldn't recommend doing this part in costume, but at least something that you're not having to pull a shirt off over your head. Make your life a lot easier. So my particular palette for the show, I'm using, these are little CoverGirl eyeshadow palettes. So I've got a purple one, a white one, a gray, oh, it's a sterling blue color, and I have a black. Oh, so this is my favorite black eyeshadow that I use. It's called Night Sky from Maybelline, and it's not shimmery. It's really hard to find eyeshadow palettes that don't have shimmer in them, at least I have found. I have these small little brushes, and this is what I'm going to use to apply my makeup. I'm going to start with a purple, and I'm just going to brush it over the, this will be a little hard to do here. I'm going to brush it over my lid, starting at the lash line. I'm just going to drag it out. And I'm going to drag it up into the crease of my eye. It's really important that you are aware of how much eyelid space you have. Oftentimes people have a much smaller room to play with between their eye and their brow. It can be very closed off, almost like this, and there's not a lot of room to play. I happen to have quite a bit of space to play with. If you don't, be very careful about how much you are applying. If you are going to do the entire hollow of the eye, make sure that is that you're being very clear about that. Otherwise, leave a little bit of space. But I'm going to go pretty far up because I do have a lot of real estate. And now you also have to be pretty aware of your the lights in your space. The lights in our space are pretty dark. It's very moody, and we have a lot of blues and purples, and there's a lot of shadows. Oftentimes you're just going to get washed out. So you're going to want to make it pretty pigmented and really let the color saturate. Now that I've hit the top of the eye, I'll probably just do one side and then come back. I'm also going to drag this color under the eye. It's very important that you make that face. I find it easier to use a smaller brush than a larger brush. It's easier to apply in smaller strokes, I guess, to keep it cleaner. A larger brush, the more you pack onto that brush. I'm packing a lot of color onto the brush. The more I pack onto a larger brush, the more room for mistake. We don't want that. It's always easier to put more makeup on than it is to take off, especially with something like this. These creams, oftentimes, if you wipe it off to cover it, to remove a mistake, and you reapply the white, maybe you're just the way it's already set, you might have a small ring or patch where you can tell that you've done some repainting. So smaller brushes are my best friend, at least. All right, so I've gone through with that color. I am going to drag down the bridge of my nose a little bit more. And I wear glasses, so I can afford to do a little bit more color on the sides of my nose. You might want to do a little bit less. But my glasses do cover up most of my eyes, so the rest of my face has to really pop. And I'm going to just hit up just here where there would be a natural shadow around the corner of the sides of the nose. Okay, great. Now I'm going to put that color away, and I'm going to use, I have a lot of these little brushes. I have to find the right one. I plan to dip the ends in a little bit of acrylic paint so that I know what color goes to what brush, because at this point the bristles are all black and they're clean. It's just very hard to tell what color is on it because some of the colors are a little darker. All right, so I've packed it on with my my black eyeshadow, and I'm just going to smudge. It's very hard to do. I'm going to smudge along the lash line. So we want to add a lot of depth. And I'm going to take the same color, I've packed on a little bit more, and I'm going to follow the crease in my eye, but I'm only going to go about halfway. If you can see that. And I'm going to just fill in that corner. And I'm not going to take it all the way out. And then just hit the under eye, just a touch. And then, like I said, I'm wearing glasses, so I can afford to go a little heavier around the nose. And so there's still a hint of purple, but the black is really making a statement. It's a really defining line. Okay. And then just a touch there to add a little more dimension. It's hard to do. I wouldn't ordinarily go that dark around there. Okay. And then your fingers can be your best friend here. And kind of smudge that out a little. All right. Now, I have a larger brush here that has seen better days. I'm now going to pack on a little bit of this sterling blue. And I'm just going to get in there, and I like to hold, it's a little fan brush almost. Actually, no, I think I've turned it into a fan brush. It was a little more rounded. I like to press down the edges and really get in the palette, because then I'm going to take it, squeezed and all, and I'm going to go in. It's important that you know where the top of your cheekbone is. So you can see my natural cheekbone is right here. Okay, light is going to hit from the top, and this is going to be the widest spot on your face. And we want to add dimension, especially because now our face is one single color. When you're wearing in person or face to face, most men, you have a lot of different shades in your face. So when you do stage makeup, or you do any other kind of corrective makeup, and you make your skin tone, one single tone, you need to make sure that you're defining areas like your jaw, around the nose, even just lightly. But since this is such a dramatic statement, a big dramatic look that we're going for, you can go a little further. But so this is going to be your highlighted area, which is the top of which is the apple right here, this cheekbone, and there's this spot. So if I'm running my brush handle along, you can see that curve I've created right there. That's where my brow, that's where my not my brow bone, where my cheekbone is. Okay, and I'm going to take it, I'm going to go all the way from up my sideburn here, and I'm going to drag that color down, and once I've gone to about the corner of my eye, I'm going to drag it down. So I've made my line, and I'm going to pull down. Okay, and already that's giving me a little more dimension. Okay. Now, I'm going to go back with a little bit of the black, and I'm just lightly going to kind of stipple in a little more color. I like that, but I'm going to go in with a little bit of purple on the top of it also. And just come in and drag it down. So, see here, I can already tell. I started, so I've cut my sideburn is usually a great place to know where my contour goes. Because of my wig, I have cut my sideburn up much higher than I ordinarily would. My sideburn usually sits just here, which is where I would start my cheek contour. So I really should have started this a touch lower from my face and my structure where it is now. But we live and we learn. Great, so I'm gonna take that same gray, that same, what is it? What did I say it was? Sterling blue. And I like to start at the back of the ear. And again, I'm really pinching down the ends, and I'm going to start and just kind of drag here behind the ear and follow the jawline. Underneath. And as I get here, because I don't want to see just a blunt line of color, you saw me start to kind of swirl it around. I'm going to go underneath and then just drag it out. Okay, and then I'll do the same thing. Pack on just a touch of black, and keep that one a little bit closer to the underside. If you notice there we go. There's a lot of you can start to see the angles, whereas this side it's flat, but this side has a little more interest. Okay. Another thing I really like to do is following, if you feel here where your Addams apple is, just along here is your, I guess your trachea. I like to take my color and drag it just on the outside. And then I would do the same on the other side. Just adds a little more interest. All right. Okay. I haven't dipped back into the black. I'm still using that sterling gray, or the sterling blue. I'm also going to do a patch here at the temple. I might hit that with a little bit of purple just because it is so close to my eyes that I want that to kind of tie in. Okay. All right, now for the lips, I've decided to go with keeping in with the purple palette. Okay. And I'm very carefully just going to color in the lip. Take your time. That's why I like to use the smaller brush. It's just easier to pack on in smaller areas. And it's like those paint by numbers where you paint within the small spaces. You want to be careful not to overdraw, not to smudge. The good thing is about the eyeshadow palette, and then using when you covered your lips with the same cream foundation, it helps keep it all in place. Okay. All right. So my lips are purple, but now they're a little boring because now it's just one shade. I also have this little brush here, this little angled brush, and I'm going to dip in the black, and I'm just going to, on the edges right here, I'm not going all the way, I just want to define the corners. Bring back the 90s and do a really nice dark lip liner. Don't worry about doing the whole thing. The most important part is accenting the corners and the Cupid's bow. I have a fairly prominent Cupid's bow. Right, and that's enough there. I have also used these jumbo eye pencils that I really like, but it took me forever to realize that I thought they were a twist up. You actually have to sharpen them. I used these when I did Beauty and the Beast, and I really like them. They worked really well, but I'm going to use it as a lip color as well. So now my lips are a little more interesting. There's more color. A little more. All right, they're not just one color anymore. There's the purple and the black, but I want something else. So right here in the center where light would hit first, because it's protruding out the most from your face, do a little bit of white, and then just smear it in. It's subtle. Okay. All right, now that I've done that, I do want a little bit more cheek. I have another little fluffy brush and a Snow Blossom color from CoverGirl, another eyeshadow. And I really want to make, I feel like I've muddied this up a little bit too much here. That's fine. If I don't want to come back in with a cream, I'll just come back in with a powder right on top. Same thing with the top of the nose. Maybe hit the brow a little bit. All the areas that light would hit first. And this has a little bit of glitter to it, a little bit of shine. It's pearlized, so when the light does hit it, it will kind of, it'll glimmer. It'll have the same effect as a highlight without being the god-awful highlights that people do. And then just here on the jawline. Okay. I'm gonna take this little guy. Give myself a little cleft chin and buff that out a little bit more. Okay. What I've seen people do in the past as well, let me see what color I've got here, is accentuating this piece here and going too far with it, okay? So the idea here is that it's a natural indentation here. It's a natural indentation. And now it doesn't go all the way across. You only see it here, just under the lip. And a little bit here goes a long way because it's at the center of your face. It's gonna pop right away, especially now that we have, because of the colors and the lip, it's gonna get drawn, focus is gonna go right here. Especially when you're talking or you're singing, this is where all your focus is gonna go to. If people are sitting close enough, or if you're doing this for another event for something, this is where focus is gonna go, mostly to your mouth. So a little bit goes a long way, okay? All right, now you can use, I've been using this same white pencil to do my brows. And I've got a gray wig that I would usually wear. I'm not gonna worry about my lashes or doing any kind of mascara. I have dark hair, it's not important. And even if I didn't have dark hair, if you had lighter hair, blonde hair, your lashes aren't gonna show. At this point, you've caked on so much eyeshadow that they're the same color as your eyes. What you can do as well, if you want to make your eyes pop a little bit more, is right on the waterline with a white pencil. Okay. So I'm going to do this side of my face, and I will show you the finished results. All right, so this is my finished product. These are very similar to glasses that I wear in the show. Our show is very angular. And I think this really, especially with my face being so long, it's very important that you kind of get to know your face. My face is so long that all of this really accentuates. If you have a smaller, rounder face, like again, your eyes being more closed off, you can afford to go a lot bigger with the color around the eye, and then bring it down just a touch. If you have a rounder face, a smaller face, I wouldn't suggest going as deep or as large with your cheek. I can afford to, again, because I have a lot of real estate. My lips as well are naturally pretty large and plump, and this just helps to add to that. I have enough real estate under my lip that I can afford to do this here. There are things that you're gonna have to give and take, just because your face might be a little bit smaller, the dimensions, your features might be a little different. I have a very long nose, so it's very easy to just go all the way, just straight down. But yeah, this is it, and I'll tack along a picture as well of what it looks like in the show. Hope this helped.